my name is Muhammad Al-Faikar. Now I'm going to explain about accounting fraud. Accounting fraud is the deliberate falsification of financial statements to give the impression of a company's financial health. It also involves an employee, accountant, or the company itself deceiving investors and shareholders, overstating revenue, failing to record expenses, and misstating assets and liabilities are all ways for a company to falsify its financial statement. From our perspective about tone at the top is the tone set at the top suggests that the board of directors and management team should lead by example rather than merely saying compliance and ethics are important. It emphasized the need of corporate executive being truthful, having integrity, and cultivating an ethical company culture. For the tone at the top of Perwaja Steel is in 1988, Eric was appointed as the company's managing director. Eric Chia, a close associate of Mahathir's, was dispatched to the company to investigate the reason of its failing. The Perwaja Terengganu received more than 10 bids at this period. The government was meant to develop the 1.2 billion ringgit facilities into a profitable business. Because of Eric Chia's unethical move, the firm entered bankruptcy in 1988. The director of Perwaja Steel made inaccurate accounting records, unauthorized contracts worth hundreds of millions of ringgit, misappropriation of funds, dubious maintenance contract worth 292 million ringgit, including a contract worth 200,000 per month to a company for gardening, cleaning, and vehicle maintenance. The award of 957 million ringgit contracts to companies with a long track record were among the allegations made by Perwaja Steel's new management in an internal report.
Hi, my name is Nadia Asila binti Muhammad Ali, and I'm gonna provide and explain more details on how the fraud was perpetrated and concealed, like how, when, what, and where the fraud happens. A little introduction about Perwaja Steel Company. Perwaja Steel Company is a joint venture company between Terengganu State Government-owned Heavy Industry Corporation (HICOM) and Japanese corporation, which is Nippon Steel Corporation. There are many auditing issues and reviews on Perwaja Steel Company about their accounting transactions, but most of them are kept confidential because there are many politicians involved in this case. So this case needs to keep secrets and private. But still, there are accounting issues on the Perwaja Steel Company that could be detected. Okay, so the first issue that could be detected is fraud accounting. Perwaja Steel Berhad was caught performing double transactions. They are making transactions to a non-existing company. And they are also blamed by creating new account in order to keep and make sure their share price was still high. Second issue is misconduct in directorships. The director was caught paying sum of money among 74.6 million to Japan and KK corporations. Next issue is corruption in tender and rewarding contract. This issue involved Mason Company. Mason Company was rewarded a contract worth and value 967 billion ringgit Malaysia, but there was no document regarding authorizations from Board of Directors, which means that the contract didn't attach together with the document approval from Board of Directors. Issue number 4 is misappropriations of fund and loan. The company misused the loan amounting 196 million. The loan was borrowed from the Japanese bank, so that's why the loan is in yen. And because of that, at some point of time, the interest rate is getting higher. Issue number 5 is repeated huge funding by governments, government bodies, and public funding that makes Perwaja Steel upon have a bankruptcy many times. The last issue is ignorance the corporate crime. Perwaja Steel was insolvent. There was no issue taken to any of the directors until the police report was made. Perwaja Steel was started in 1982 with the joint together of Nippon Steel Corporation, one of the Japanese company. Previously, Perwaja Steel was known as Perwaja Terengganu before it changed to Perwaja Steel in 1989. 1987, Perwaja Steel was obtained a large amount of loan from Japanese bank, and on the same year, Nippon Steel Corporation decided to walk out from the company. After Nippon Corporation left the company, Perwaja Steel suffered a lot of debts that was not in ringgit Malaysia but was in yen, and it leads to the higher interest of rate. In 1995, Eric Chia resigned from the company, and after he left the company needs to bear the increasing in debt that was from 1 million ringgit to RM 2.59 billion. A lot of articles state that on 10 April 1996 was the starting point of everything. On that time, the audit firm Anti-Corruption Agency (ACA) was conduct a finance, and they was found and discovered that the company have mismanaged and also have a sufficient loss about 2.5 million ringgit. In 1999, Masan Company appeared. They given contract worth RM 900 million without any approval. And in the same year, the revenue of 76.4 that was deposited to the Japanese company NKK Corporation. And there was also a payment was made to the Japanese corporations called Torments. In 2004, Mr. Eric Chia was arrested after the police reports was being made, but then there was not more action was taken to the board of directors. Up until now, after all the chronology, Perwaja Steel Company is still running its operations. This fraud case was one of the longest investigations in the country. It takes about 12 years to solve this case, but still, there's still not end properly. That's all from me. Next, who involved in the fraud? There are three main persons who involved in this case. The first one is Eric Chia, the friend of Dr. Mahathir Mohamad that was appointed at first to solve the problem of Perwaja Steel debts. The second one is to Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, the person who proceeded 76.4 million to be transferred to the Japanese corporations. And the last one is Masan Company, a related company that was awarded a contract amount 967 million without any permission from the boards of directors. Whistleblower. Okay, for Perwaja Steel case, the whistleblower is Anwar Ibrahim, a former finance minister that was instructed an independent audit firm to go and check on Perwaja Steel insolvency status. Anwar made a disclosure in Parliament about the Perwaja Steel Company actual loss is 2.9 billion, and then he made a police report about it. After the disclosure and the report, the government then issued Anti-Corruption Agency (ACA) to start investigating on the company audit report. Because of that, the new management of Perwaja Steel needs to prepare an internal audit report where it's alleged with others.
So I will explain about fraud triangle for our case, which is Perwaja Steel case. Basically, fraud triangle consists of three components, which is pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. So I will explain more about pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. So first one of the fraud triangle is pressure. So how pressure can lead to a fraud? So let me explain more detail. So pressure, whether financial or from superiors, both of these factors contribute to fraud. Without rational and lawful answer, individual may turn to irrational measure. Personal financial strength can show itself in unsolvable financial difficulties, a lack of income, pressure from bank to repay loans, and maintaining a lifestyle. Pressure can be derived from the threats to a company financial hack, external pressure from the lenders, influence of a company performance on wealth management, and difficulties meeting financial target. Based on the Perwaja Steel case, business are likely to experience the pressure of dealing with the production issue and massive debt obligation. Perwaja Steel must bear the consequence of the failure and loss of Japan company products. This means that this corporation will have to turn to fraud in order to pay off its debts, as there were no profit to begin with. Next, I will talk about opportunity. In the context of fraud, opportunity refers to a situation in which fraud can occur. Even if someone has a strong reason to conduct fraud, he or she will not be able to do so if there is no chance of success. Opportunities for fraud arise when internal control are weak, such as improper expression of rules, lack of monitoring, and lack documentation of process. It's easy to see from the Perwaja Steel case that a weak internal control and lack of management monitoring allow the management to conduct fraud. As soon as the new management arrived, they discovered that the internal report have numerous mistakes. Weak internal control are readily apparent because management is ignorant to an issue with an internal report that could lead to corporate fraud. Last one, I will talk about rationalization. So what is rationalization? Rationalization is refers to an individual's justification for engaging in a fraudulent behavior. So based on the Perwaja Steel case, rationalization can be seen when a company doesn't take legal action until a police report was made in 1999, and then Mr. Eric Chia was arrested in 2004. Despite the arrest, there were no big change made. So we can see from this situation that if the management conduct fraud and no police complaint is filed, they will not be prosecuted. The fraudster will assume that these issues are not treated seriously and will be able to get away with it.
Hi, I am Azra Miza binti Syakban, and now I'm going to share about the consequences or effects or penalties that might impose for the auditor, management, the company, shareholders, and the other relevant parties. The first part I will explain is the auditor. The government initiated an investigation in November 1995 after it was revealed that the steel mill had 10 billion in debts and losses, including 9 to 6 million in current liabilities, 6.01 billion in long-term liabilities, and 2.98 billion in losses. On 10 April 1996, after Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim revealed Perwaja's losses in a speech to Parliament, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, formerly known as Anti-Corruption Agency, ACA, issued a government probe order and began investigating the company audited report for possible malpractices and fraud that contributed to the loss. In the course of its investigation, the agency examined more than 50 people, including Eric Chia. On 4th May 1999, the ACA investigation into Perwaja Steel's 2.9 billion in losses as of December 31, 1995 is still ongoing, according to Dato' Ahmad Zaki Hussein, the ACA Director General. He then announced in March 2001 that he had discovered an 76.4 million transfer to a Swiss bank account domiciled in the British Virgin Islands. However, no legal action was taken against Perwaja until Eric Chia was arrested in March 2004. So the next one, the company itself, Perwaja Steel. On 21st February 2002, Perwaja Steel temporarily stopped its two facilities in Teluk Kallang Kemaman and Guren Kedah. Perwaja CEO Dato' Abu Talib Muhammad announced the temporary shutdown of the two factories during a briefing to more than 1,600 Perwaja employees at its factory in Kemaman. The interim closure will allow Perwaja management to revamp its business operation after the company experienced a severe decline. A total of 100 administrative staff from the company's corporation headquarters building in Shah Alam Section 26 were also involved. The corporation has made a voluntary retirement scheme, SPS, available to its employees. Senator Zainal Rampak, chairman of the Malaysian Trades Union Congress, MTUC, has urged Human Resource Minister Dato' Dr. Fong Chan On to intervene and find a solution to Perwaja Steel Sdn Berhad's plan to cut employee numbers. Here is about the management. We knew that this company was directed by Eric Chia and he was suspected as the culprit in this case. So let's discover the whole journey of how this case being closed. In a police report made by Anwar in 1999, he alleged that Perwaja chairman Eric Chia frequently claimed that his actions were directed by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Mahathir. Eric Chia was ultimately prosecuted in 2004 for corruptly authorizing a payment of 76.4 million after years of silence by the ACA and the police. He was charged under Section 409 of the Penal Code, which carries a sentence of not less than 2 years and not more than 20 years, and with whipping, and is liable to a fine. However, Eric Chia pleaded not guilty to the charges brought against him. After calling 29 witnesses, the prosecution concluded the case on May 4, 2007. On June 26 the same year, Sessions Court Judge Akhtar Tahir acquitted and discharged Chia of criminal breach of trust allegations involving 76.4 million, stating that the prosecution had failed to find a proof against him. A year later, Eric Chia died of heart attack. In terms of the shareholders, of course they are being affected as well. The origin of Perwaja Steel is from Perwaja Terengganu Sdn Bhd, a joint venture between Highcom 51%, Nippon Steel Corporation 30%, and the Terengganu State Government 19%, established in 1982. Starting with a paid-up capital of 250 million and 850 million borrowed from Japanese Export Bank, this company was guaranteed by the Minister of Finance, MOF. However, the company faced a lot of problems since the beginning, such as the commodity crisis, which resulted in a fall in commodity prices, such as iron prices, appreciation of the value of the yen, and a fall in demand for iron. In 1988, Perwaja had recorded 1 billion in accumulated loss. As a result, in 1989, Nippon Steel and Highcom withdrew as shareholders of Perwaja, and their shares were bought by the MOF. To keep this company sustained, MOF pumped 250 million into Perwaja. In 1997, as an alternative measure to revive Perwaja, the MOF proposed a privatization plan through the purchase of 51% of Perwaja's share by Maju Holdings. However, the plan was delayed for a while due to the Asian financial crisis that occurred at the time. The plan was continued and completed in 2003. After a long period of investigation, in 2006, Perwaja became a subsidiary of Kin Steel Berhad, holding 51% of the company's shares. Perwaja Steel case relates a lot to political issue when there is intervention with the government. The issue is getting tougher when Swiss government denied Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamed's statement that the latter had refused to cooperate with Malaysian investigators into the Perwaja Steel scandal. In a speech in London on February 26, Mahathir blamed the anti-corruption agency, ACA, inability to uncover the long-running 10 billion Perwaja Steel issue completely on the Swiss authorities' lack of cooperation. He stated that the Swiss had failed to divulge a Swiss account where 76 million had been fraudulently taken from Perwaja. In contrast to Mahathir's assertion, the Swiss consul in Kuala Lumpur recently revealed that the Swiss Justice Department had not only met with Malaysian authorities in Switzerland, but had also given the Malaysian government information of 2 pertinent bank accounts in Geneva and Zurich in May 2001. ACA, however, has not sought the freezing of any bank accounts in Switzerland, despite being given the account data, according to the Swiss consul. The Swiss consul further stated that the Swiss government has always reacted quickly to Malaysians' requests and will do so again in the future. The gravity of the situation is compounded by the Prime Minister's alleged personal involvement in a criminal matter, as charged by former Deputy Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim in his police report dated July 22, 1999, and the government's long delay in bringing the perpetrators to justice.
Thus, for our conclusion, Perwaja Steel began as a joint venture between Malaysian government and Nippon Steel Corporation, a Japanese firm, as part of the government drive to execute industrial strategy in the nation. To ensure the success of the joint venture, the Malaysian government has established an iron plant in Terengganu worth more than 1 billion ringgit to meet the demand for iron goods. However, operational inefficiencies caused a slew of problems, and Perwaja started to have trouble repaying its obligation. So, the government nominated a bar manager who was granted complete power over the plant's management. To salvage the situation, Rm 860 million ringgit from Bank Bumiputra and 130 million ringgit from the EPF were funneled. Perwaja, on the other hand, was unable to be salvaged because to several managerial errors and financial mismanagement. Finally, the Malaysian government will be responsible for more than 10 billion ringgit in debt, despite beginning to make money in 2006 to 2008. The company's debt load is too high, leading many of Perwaja's activities to be disrupted. Due to severe areas, the plant's water and power supplies were turned off in 2013. And in March 2018, Perwaja Steel asset started to be sold to meet the company's debt obligation. Perwaja Steel, in our view, was nothing more than a stunning example of poorly managed, politically driven, and commercially questionable undertaking that failed predictably. Despite substantial investment, a robust economy for most of the period, and tariff and quotas to protect against competitive imports, the company was never able to make steel successfully. It was beset by long-term operating problems and debilitating debt burden, which included considerable foreign exchange losses due to extensive borrowing overseas. Perwaja struggled even after the government decided to sell it in 1996, swallowing 9.9 billion ringgit in accumulated losses. Perwaja, on the other hand, had a darker side that cemented its place in Malaysia's financial scandals pantheon. An unknown portion of the 15 billion ringgit or more that the firm consumed was siphoned off via various rackets and ruses, despite the fact that both internal and external assessment proved the firm had been black-white. Virtually nothing was done to bring the criminals to justice and recover the funds.